Okay, so we're looking at this next question now, and if you haven't looked at my first circles video, I recommend that you do that first. So here we've been given 2 points, A and B, and we're asked to find the exact length between them. So with this sort of question, I would recommend first drawing yourself a line, okay? This line doesn't have to be precise, it doesn't have to be anything special, just draw yourself a line. Okay, and at one side of the line, we're going to have that as A, and the other side is going to be B. And so I'm just going to write down the coordinates here as well, just so we can see them. Okay, so there are many ways that you can do this question. The way that I like to do this question is using Pythagoras. So remember, with Pythagoras, you always need to have a right-angled triangle. So I'm just going to draw in a right-angled triangle here, just to symbolise this. Okay, so after you've drawn in your right-angled triangle, you're going to want to find this value of x, so your A and B. So in order to do that, hopefully you can see that you're going to have to find these lengths here, so your horizontal and your vertical length. Now the horizontal line can be found by looking at your x coordinates, so your 3 and your 5. So the distance between 3 and 5 is 2. Now your vertical components can be found by looking at your y coordinates, so your 7 and 11. And the distance between them is 4. So now you've found those values, you can now apply the Pythagoras theorem. So your Pythagoras theorem is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So if you've got any problems there, please look back at the Pythagoras video. So here, remember that a and b are any of these values and that c is always the longest side. So a in this case is going to be 2, so we have 2 squared plus b squared, which is 4 squared, is equal to c squared. And upon simplification, we'll have 4 plus 16 is equal to c squared, giving me 20 is equal to c squared, and a final answer of c is equal to the root of 20, which is your length for AB. Brilliant. So that's part I done. Let's have a look at part II. So it says the equation of the circle with the diameter AB. So this time we have a circle. And we know that its diameter is AB, which is what we've just found. So let me just draw that in. So if my diameter is AB, imagine I've just drawn it like this. Okay, this point down here is A and this one is B. So we know if it's the diameter, we know it's got a value of the root of 20, which we just found as its length. So when we look at finding an equation for a circle, thinking back to the video before, it's got to have the form x plus a squared plus y plus b squared is equal to c squared, where a and b are the centre of the circle. So let's have a think about how we can do that then. So if we want to find the centre of the circle, we know that we've got the point 3, 7 and 5, 11 as my A and B. So we're going to want to find halfway between those points. So let's first look at the x values. Halfway between 3 and 5 is 4. So if we want to put this inside the bracket, remember, thinking back to the last video, you're going to have to change the sign. So it would be positive 4, but we're going to make it negative 4 because it's going inside the bracket. Now let's do the same with the y's. So the difference between 7 and 11. So the middle point would be 9. So let's change the sign around and we'll have y minus 9 squared. Okay, so the last step then is remember that this c is representative of the radius. Okay, so c is the radius, which means that c squared is the radius squared. So the radius here, if I just represent this part here, this is my radius, which as you can see is half of the diameter. So if we do half of root 20, you should have an answer of the root of 5. So my radius is the root 5. So that means that's c. But if we plug this back into the equation up here, c squared, which is the root of 5 squared, would give you 5. So this would be my final equation for the circle with the diameter AB. Well done.